Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Child Nutrition webinar. My name is Colleen Fillmore, and I'm the Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Director. The Child Nutrition State Agency team is here today to provide some updates and answer questions you have during COVID-19. And as we move towards the end of summer and into the fall time, it's hard to believe that's the time of the year we are at. So please mark your calendars for the next CNP webinar, which will be July 23rd at this same time. It was requested during our last survey to have these every other week. If the requests begin for having them weekly, we can certainly change that. So again, it is hard to believe that we're in July and summer feels like it is passing quickly. For that reason, the focus of today's webinar will mainly be the reopening of school this fall. However, that does not mean you cannot send in questions on other topics. We know that things are changing constantly, and keeping up with these changes can be challenging. We appreciate your feedback on these webinars. Please continue to share any best practices that you have, because we will share them with others as we all are navigating through these times together. Please begin submitting your questions, and we look forward to answering those towards the end of this webinar. For today's agenda, Kim Huntley will be sharing some recent developments in the CACFP area. Heather Bloom will be up next, and she will be sharing some information on a broadcast email she sent out yesterday. This email has a survey that Heather and the team put together concerning the reopening of schools and the plans for each school district and/or sites within your district. In addition, Heather will be giving a summary of some updated waivers that were unveiled from USDA since our last webinar. These have also been sent to all CNP program contacts via our broadcast email system. Next, we will have TJ Goodsell, who will then provide us with some updates on the USDA Foods, and then we'll review the questions that were submitted ahead of time and the answers to those questions. Then we will begin answering the questions that are being submitted during this webinar. And lastly, before I hand it over to Kim, the documents that we'll be discussing today will be put on the governor's website very soon. Our webmaster is swamped with another very big project that he's working on and has our child nutrition requests in next. So those will get up on that website very soon. But again, as a reminder, they also have been sent to you via the broadcast email and or our attachments on this webinar. There's 5 attachments that the team will be discussing as we go through this webinar. Again, thank you for your hard work. We appreciate the challenges that you're going through at this time, and please let us know how we can help with those challenges. So at this time, Kim, would you like to begin sharing with the CACFP information? Kim, you might be on mute. I'm not hearing Kim right now. I'm not sure if maybe she lost a connection.
Can you hear me now?
Kim, are you here? Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Thanks. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Sherman, the Child and Adult Care Food Program Coordinator with the state agency. This past Monday, July 6th, I sent out a broadcast email to all CACFP sponsors that included the new CACFP waiver request form and Q&A guidance for the school year nationwide waivers that apply specifically to CACFP. So the ones that apply specifically to CACFP are the non-congregate feeding waiver, the meal service time waiver, the parent-guardian meal pickup waiver, and the meal pattern waiver. So in light of these waivers and with the ongoing considerations with COVID-19 pandemic, there are a couple of key factors to understand with the school year nationwide waivers. First of all meals served during a school or facility closure in school year 2021 are not considered unanticipated. Sponsors must have a plan in place to address meal service for participants while in care or receiving education services on site, students receiving distance learning, and addressing staffing concerns and facility closures due to COVID-19 in order to use the flexibilities offered by the waivers to serve and claim meals under CACFP. If you participate in CACFP, either in childcare, Head Start, or in the at-risk after-school program, please review the new waiver form and Q&A guidance. They are also provided as an attachment for this webinar. If you would like to operate under the waivers, it is very important the completed waiver form is submitted and approved by the state agency prior to implementing the flexibilities in the waivers. I would also like to clarify that USDA did not extend the activity waiver for the requirement of enrichment activities in the after-school programs. Therefore, in at-risk after-school programs, the program must provide a structured and supervised environment with an education or enrichment activity to serve meals and snacks after school. After-school programs will need to consider this requirement when developing the facility and organization plan. If you have any questions when reviewing the waiver form and Q&As, please feel free to email or call me. I'm happy to assist as needed. And so now I will turn it over to Heather, and she will review the NSLP survey. Thank you.
Hi all, can you hear me?
Yes, Heather, that sounds great.
Yep.
So first of all, since Kim was talking about waivers, we'll go over the waivers in the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program as they are available. So this is a flyer that is attached to this webinar that you can download and have available for review, even beyond the time frame we have with you this morning. So all meals served during the 2021 school year must be served and claimed under the NSLP. So this is if you're operating school meal programs, distinct from what Kim was talking about with CACFP. So school meal programs, you'll be claiming under National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, and then as Kim mentioned, the Child and Adult Care Food Program. With ongoing considerations of COVID-19, the planned full or partial building closures are not considered unanticipated in the school meal programs as well. And so therefore they will not be utilizing SSO or SFSP to submit claims during the upcoming school year. So the waivers we have in the school meal programs are essentially the same. We do have an additional one above the waivers that Kim had mentioned. So the nationwide non-congregate feeding waiver. And the purpose of this waiver in school meal programs is to allow sponsors to feed students in a non-congregate setting and allow students to consume meals off-site. So that's similar to how programs have been operating under summer food in SSO, but this is now allowable in the National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program. And this is an option that sponsors can opt into at any time when it becomes necessary for the food distribution plan that you have. The nationwide meal service time waiver. Its purpose is to waive the meal service time requirements for school year 2021. This allows for the distribution of multiple meals at a time. So this would be a possibility if you were sending meals home for students the next day when they weren't going to be on campus, or if there was a grab-and-go scenario where delivering a breakfast and a lunch at the same time would be advantageous to your district. And again, you can opt in at any time. The nationwide parent or guardian pickup waiver allows sponsors to waive the rule which prevents parents and guardians from picking up meals for their children, as long as sponsors ensure meals are only provided to parents or guardians of eligible children, and that duplicate meals are not given to any child. So sponsors may apply for this waiver at any time, as long as they have a state agency approved non-congregate feeding waiver. So those two need to be used together. The nationwide parent guardian can only be used if you already have a non-congregate feeding waiver that is approved. And then the nationwide meal pattern waiver. This allows sponsors to not meet the meal pattern for specific food items that are not available in large enough quantities, or when certain foods cost too much due to COVID-19. Requests for a meal pattern exemption are allowed as long as there's a clear and valid reason. And you can apply for this waiver when you're experiencing food shortages, high food costs, or packaging limitations, and it is subject to approval. So the last one that I will talk about under the school meal programs is specific to high school seniors, with the requirement that offer versus serve in the secondary grade levels. That has been waived. So sponsors now have the option to serve meals to high school students if that is beneficial when doing any sort of meal style that would help to promote physical and social distancing. So this waiver waives the requirements to serve meals using offer versus serve principles to all senior high school students, and you may opt in at any time. So those are how the waivers would be applied in the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. And I also wanted to share that we have the survey mentioned sent out via broadcast email. And I wanted to give an overview that we have been getting responses. So thank you to all of you who have provided responses. And just as a quick snapshot, districts have a mixed bag of whether they have a plan in place for serving meals. There are quite a lot of different options that folks are considering, with all students attending, students splitting into groups, doing morning versus PM, some students attending, some doing distance learning. There's also variety in how the breakfast will be distributed. And then many lunch scenarios are similar, as well as variety in how lunch will be distributed. And then a lot of folks who've responded are considering just pre-plating meals for students, and then staff plating the meals, and then also pre-plating meals. So those are under consideration. Some of the preventative measures that staff in food service are taking to protect themselves and students would be plexiglass shields, personal protective equipment, definitely masks and gloves, additional containers. So you can see based on the responses. And then when you take the survey, there's an opportunity to respond and tell us what is the biggest challenge that your district is facing, and to share any concerns about meal service and reopening the school. So if you could take a moment to fill in that survey, it will also at the end drive you back to those nationwide waivers that we just discussed, and give you the opportunity to tell us at the state agency which of those waivers you would consider opting into, if any. And that is all I had. So, oh, I'm sorry, there's one more question. There is a space on the survey if you feel that there's a waiver flexibility that has not been discussed that you think is critical for operating. You can inform us at the state agency so that we can pass that on up to our regional office and possibly up to national office for consideration. So that is the survey that went out via broadcast email yesterday, and we'll go ahead and give it back to TJ.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Heather, for that great information. And good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you, or at least be present with you in the moment. So we appreciate your attendance today. One of the things that I wanted to share was we hear from a lot of food service directors and their staff that the cost of meals in this COVID crisis has really affected their programs. And as a reminder, I just wanted to share, hopefully you can all see my screen, that we as a team have worked to try and provide resources that help you recognize some ways of utilizing your USDA foods. We know that over the course of the summer, there were a lot of schools that just had to go with individually wrapped items, make quick decisions. Those costs of procuring those foods was unfortunately not a planned expense in the program. But one thing that you know that is certain is your USDA foods are there. They are arriving into Northwest on a fairly regular basis now, or we're getting notifications that trucks have been purchased and those foods will be arriving. So we'll be falling back into that normal pattern of your receiving USDA foods, the foods that you ordered back in February. So please take a moment. This handout that I'm currently sharing is available in the webinar. Take a moment to review some of the information on this webinar, keeping in mind that the flexibilities that are available under those waivers that Heather just described allow schools to serve multiple days worth of meals. So you'll want to consider how to utilize those bulk foods in this method, because we know that USDA foods are typically a bulk food item that brings value to your program under normal circumstances. So now we've got to get creative about how do we utilize those foods under a COVID situation, depending on your meal service plan. So please just take a moment to review this particular resource. We've tried to cover many of the options that we're hearing. There will be some foods that will have to be going out as compartmentalized foods. There will be foods that will be served in a standard cafeteria style to some degree if you're implementing social distancing within the cafeteria. And then, of course, just basic math calculations. How do I take volumes of food and distribute those into multiple meals? So if you have specific challenges regarding your USDA Foods, please make sure that you utilize the USDA Foods team email to share those challenges with us. We want to be prepared to help in any way possible. Often our responses are sent up to the Western region, who then, if they can't answer, will send those on to USDA. And it's really critical at this particular juncture that all stakeholders hear from those of you on what I consider the battlefield right now. You're the ones that are facing the challenges of feeding students. And if we need additional flexibilities, the only way we're going to learn about those is through you folks. So please, the USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov email is functional. Let us know if there's anything you need from us that we could potentially help you with. And then, of course, I also wanted to share, we've had lots of questions about the Family First Corona Response Act opt-in waiver for entitlement. So I just wanted to share with everyone that this opt-in waiver is, essentially it serves multiple purposes. It allows the state agency some time to evaluate whether or not opting into the waiver is a good idea. And the reason that USDA offered this flexibility is because essentially many states will have one of two things happen. They will have either had lots of school districts who operated under the seamless summer option, the SSO option, and their meals will count for entitlement. However, in our state, the good majority of school districts that continue to serve meals under the COVID crisis decided to go with their summer feeding program option because they were summer food sponsors. So what we need to do as a state is we need time to assess the claims that were submitted between March through June under the available waivers, those waivers that were initially released. We need to assess meal counts for this particular school year, March through June, of all the meals served under SSO, and we need to compare those to our national school lunch meal numbers that were served in that same time period in school year 18-19. And in this particular waiver, I was looking for the specifics on it, but maybe I can't find it. Oh, it's right here. Under this particular waiver, USDA allows the state agencies until September 15th of this year to opt in. That is because school districts have 60 days to submit their claims under any particular program. So while there have been lots of questions about, is the state going to opt in? How does this affect me? I would just like to let everyone know that we are scrutinizing our data to ensure that the decision that we make benefits our recipient agencies across the board. So some schools may not, if we opt in, it may not benefit them, their entitlement, as much as it will a state aggregate. And so that's what I need to do is we need to look at a state aggregated entitlement and how most people are benefited. So I just wanted you to be aware we're doing our due diligence. You will be notified what our decision is once those final claims are submitted. Our team has set aside some time to review those claims. So you will learn via email we'll use our broadcast email, what that decision is prior to September 15th. So with that, I think now we'll, do we have a question?
Yeah, we have a, oh, you were going to review the questions. That's right.
Yes. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump into, we were fortunate to receive some questions in advance of this webinar. And so we'd like to go ahead and review those now. And basically, I'm just going to read them, but they will be available for you to review later. They will be posted to the governor's website. So the first question that we received was, what will our serving lines look like this school year? And so the answer to that particular question is meal service plans should be developed by each SFA in conjunction with their local administration, following CDC department guidance. While USDA has not provided explicit requirements for operating in the fall, sponsors have the ability to use the flexibilities issued by USDA. All flexibilities are posted on the governor's coronavirus website. And so to circle back to that answer for a moment, bear in mind that Colleen did in the advance or at the beginning of this webinar state that the governor's website is under, they're revising it. And so our hope is that these ADA compliant answers will be up soon, as well as those flexibilities that Heather went through earlier in our presentation. And just again, remember that that survey that Heather was talking about, those are the plans we need to see from the school district. So make sure that you complete that survey. And then question number 2, will we be required to have grab-and-go items to make up a reimbursable meal? Grab-and-go meal service style is an option, but it is not required at this time. And this is where it gets complex, because everyone needs to be watching, what does the guidance look like? What is our governor saying? What is the federal government saying? Keeping in mind that we all know this coronavirus is currently a moving target. So while we all are trying to plan in accordance with what we know today, that doesn't mean that this information may not change. But do know that grab-and-go service style is an option. It is just not a requirement at this time. And question number 3, are students allowed to pick up their breakfast in the cafeteria and bring the meal to their classroom? Again, this is an option, but it is not a requirement. The state agency encourages sponsors to work with their administration when developing a meal service plan. It may seem frustrating, and we understand at the state agency level that what would be helpful is if we could just give you a template and say, this is what your plan needs to look like. But we live in a local control state where each district really needs to work on a plan that makes the most sense for their students. We have large districts, small districts. Not every plan will work to facilitate each district, different meal styles before COVID, let alone after COVID. So we're doing our very best to provide the guidance that we know at this particular time. Question number 4, are we allowed to serve OVS in the cafeteria for students present? And for the students that are remote learners, are we able to give them a unitized meal? So OVS is an option under those current flexibilities. The USDA USDA Offer versus Serve Flexibility Waiver for school year 2020-2021 waives the requirement for high school OVS. If sponsors are unable to implement OVS and ensure appropriate components and serving sizes are met, A unitized meal that includes all meal components must be served. So circling back to those waivers and the descriptions on those, keeping in mind that we are serving meals now under the NSLP meal pattern. We do not have the option for FSO, SFSP. So keep all of that in mind as you move forward on your plan. Will we have flexibility in serving the meals at a different time for pickup? Yes, so long as the sponsor has opted in for both the national waiver to allow meal service time flexibility and nationwide waiver to allow non-congregate feeding. So these waivers are complex. Reading through them is frustrating at best, but just be aware that they are there to allow you the flexibility you need to, one, develop a plan, and then move forward with that plan in the ways that you see yourself feeding students in the future. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and now turn the time back over to Colleen so that she can address any questions that may have come in over the course of this webinar. So thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you everyone for that information, very helpful. Okay, so the first comment that we have here is someone is having some sound problems. So as a friendly reminder, all of these webinars are archived and they are put out on the governor's website and also YouTube. So if you have difficulty hearing, please feel free to go out. It should be up in the next day or two once they make them ADA compliant. Okay, first question. During the school year, will meal service only be allowed for attending students only and not other community children? And so Linda, do you want to take that one?
Sure, Colleen. Hi, everyone. Currently, it is following NSLP meal pattern, so it is only available to the children enrolled in your district. But like TJ said, things could change, so we will send out information if this changes in the future.
Thank you, Linda. And you make a really good point. Things are just changing constantly. Okay, next question. During this school year, 2020-2021, can we set up a grab and go for students learning online from home, and can their parents come and pick them up? So Heather, would you like to take that one?
Yes. So during the 2020 school year for grab and go, if the students are receiving distance learning from the school that is providing the meals, then they may be provided a reimbursable school meal. And USDA did provide clarification that under this new flexibility, students may not receive meals on days when they are not receiving instruction, and that's determined by the district.
Very good. Thank you, Heather. Next question. Meal pattern remains the same under NSLP, so all veggie groups have to be offered throughout the week, question mark. And Linda, we'll give that one to you.
Hi, everyone. So currently, this is a requirement under NSLP, and yes, you have to follow the vegetable subgroups. However, like we're going to say over and over again, this may change in the near future, so just be aware and watch your emails closely if this were to change. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Linda. And it looks like the next question is very similar to that. And will there be flexibility to meet vegetable subgroups? And TJ, did you have something additional to add from what Linda just shared?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that the meal pattern waiver flexibility is out there, but keep in mind that those flexibilities can only be implemented if there's an inability to meet the subgroups because of lack of product or a very justifiable means. So it's not that the meal pattern is still in place, and we understand that it may be difficult to meet. So if for some reason we have a shortage of product, or there's just an inability to get individually wrapped items that would help you meet your meal pattern because maybe they're not available, then that would be justifiable, but you would have to rely on that meal pattern waiver flexibility.
Great, thank you, TJ. Now this next question is good in the sense that I'll have Linda provide some clarification. Once we have a meal service plan in place, do we then need to opt into the 2021 waivers that apply, or are the waivers we opted in and were approved to serve seamless summer still apply? So Linda, you want to take that one?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So the seamless summer waivers all expire, and the new waivers are for NSLP. So there is not a seamless summer option available for the waivers for the upcoming school year. It is only run under NSLP, and the only one I believe you have to opt into is the meal pattern flexibility waiver if you experience a food shortage. Thank you.
Great, Linda. Thank you. And Heather, did you have some more that you would like to add on to answer that?
Yeah, actually, Linda did an excellent job. I wanted to provide one addition to the meal pattern. The parent and guardian pickup does also need state agency assurance that there is in fact a plan in place to make sure that that is a parent and guardian of an eligible student. So there's actually two waivers that need a little bit of additional scrutiny at the state agency level, but we are accountable for reporting all of the waiver usage. So we will need you to notify us of any waivers that you are electing. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that addition, Heather. Next question. If we are planning offer versus serve in the building between 11 to 12, can we serve a unitized meal that follows the NSLP meal pattern for the remote learners from 10 to 11? And Heather, I'll give that one to you.
Yes, the meal pattern flexibility does allow for different meal service times to accommodate different learners. You just want to make sure that those distance learners are in fact receiving instruction on that day that they are provided a grab-and-go meal.
Perfect, thank you. Next question, thoughts on salad bar, condiment bars? I'm inclined to pull them, but there is some resistance. So Linda, I'll give that one to you.
Okay, thank you. So what I've heard from other school districts is they're working with their health department, and some health departments are telling or advising schools not to allow salad bars. So work with your health department, your local health department, and get their guidance on this.
Perfect, thank you. Next question, 4-day school week. If we have after school on Friday for part of the day, can we provide meals for those students who come to that program on that day? So who would like to take that? I'm not sure if it needs clarification on if that was a CACFP program or not. So Linda, I'll go ahead and give that to you.
Okay, I'll grab that one. So if you are a 4-day school week and go Monday through Thursday, and that is your normally scheduled school, those are the days that you can serve meals. If you're offering a 5th day that not all students have to attend, then that may fall under the Child and Adult Care Food Program. But if you're a 4-day week, you can only serve meals on those 4 days.
Perfect. And Kim, was there anything you might want to add to that in case a program does want to run under CACFP?
Yeah, so if they're not on the 5th day, if they're offering an after-school program on a non-school day, they can apply to participate in the Child and Adult Care Food Program, the at-risk after-school program, because that is a program that operates during the school year, after school, and on non-school days. And in that program, you can serve 1 meal and 1 snack to each student that participates in the after-school program or on the non-school day in the education enrichment activities. So that would be an option for your district. If you're not already participating, you can apply with the state agency. Just contact me, email me, and I can help you with the application process.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. Okay, the next question is back to the question of whether a parent can pick up a meal for a student who is attending online. Please clarify if the parent can pick up. And Heather, I'll go ahead and give that to you.
Sure. So to clarify, parents can pick up meals on behalf of their students who are receiving online learning. The caveat is that the district needs to have a plan in place to ensure that that parent is in fact a parent picking up a meal on behalf of an eligible student, because remember, only enrolled students may receive meals under the school meal programs, and that that student did in fact receive instruction on that day. So that could be distance learning. So if they're participating in remote learning on the day where meals are provided, that is something that they can pick up a meal for. It would be when no instruction is provided at all that no meal would be able to be provided. Hopefully that clarified.
Yeah, great clarification, Heather. And if you still need additional clarification, please submit the question again. So next question. So other than the meal pattern flexibility waiver, all other waivers are automatic, so districts do not need to complete the waivers. Question. Heather, you want to take that?
Yes, so they are something we need to track. So while there's not necessarily an approval process, we're not going to scrutinize the response that you're providing, we do need to be notified of the waivers that you're going to be electing. And that's going to determine how we approve NSLP renewal packets. So we need to know which waivers you intend to use. The two that are subject for approval are the parent pickup and the meal pattern. The others are more just notifying us. And the survey that went out yesterday did have a question related to which waivers are under consideration. So you can tell us at this point via that survey which ones you're considering. And then the state agency is currently establishing a process to track which districts are utilizing which waivers. So we do need to be notified of all of the waivers you'd like to use, and that's true of any future flexibilities that USDA may release as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Next question. If a parent picks up a meal for their student, will they then be charged according to their benefit issuance? And TJ, I'll give that one to you.
Thank you, Colleen. So yes, keep in mind that student eligibility still needs to be considered in the plan for meal distribution, and a parent picking up meals for their student would need to be aware of that. They're going to need to know the status so that if a student is reduced or paid, those meals would come at that cost to the household. So this is where we've heard some complexity about, how do we do this meal distribution? So you're going to still need to understand that in some fashion, point of service will need to be able to be addressed.
Yeah, these are all great questions, looking into going into the fall year. So we appreciate these questions. They're enlightening to us too. Next question. If we go into a hybrid A/B days, are we able to send meals home with students? And TJ, I'll give you that one.
Thank you, Colleen. The answer to that is yes. The mealtime waiver allows for multiple meal distribution. So it's intended to allow for if a student is at school, let's say on Monday, an A day, and won't be back until Wednesday, their additional A day, then you do have the ability to send meals home with that student who would essentially be in an online environment on their Tuesday so that they had access to their breakfast and lunch the following day while they were at home at school.
Perfect. Thank you, TJ. Next question. If we end up doing online learning, how do we serve meals to our students that are throughout the state of Idaho? This is the Idaho Deaf and Blind School. So who would like to take that, or would we like them to contact us separately if they have some unique stuff going on?
Colleen, I'll take it, but USDA is in talks about that question, but they do not have an answer for us yet.
So we will keep in contact with you, and please feel free to give our office a call or send us an email anytime. And certainly, once we do get that information, we have several questions into our regional USDA office that we're still waiting for answers. So we will definitely get those to you, to everyone, once we receive those. Okay, next question. Can a district refuse to accept cash payments and only allow people to pay online? I think it goes back to the plan that each school district wants, but does someone want to add to that?
Yes, this is Linda. I will add to that. If there is a fee, you have to be able to absorb the cost for reduced price parents. And what is your plan for the parents that may not have internet access? So you have to accommodate some of the parents that may not be able to afford to pay online, or that have the ability to pay online. So you have to come up with some other option for them.
Thank you, Linda. Next question, will water still be required during lunch service? And so Heather, I'll go ahead and give that to you.
Yes, so currently there is no flexibility for the requirement to provide potable water during meal services. However, we have sent that question up to USDA, especially our regional office, and they are considering it as one of the potential flexibilities. And based on survey responses, it may be something that we consider putting in just a state agency level waiver for, but that remains to be seen.
Thank you, Heather. Next question, we have been advised to remove all healthy choice bars and condiment stations. Would you suggest we individually package fresh fruit and vegetables in classrooms for school with the fresh fruit and vegetable program? I'm not sure if Jen is on this webinar. And so Jen, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure. Yes,
okay.
You sound great. Thank you.
Definitely, if you're talking about the fresh fruit and vegetable program, currently many school districts actually make the decision to deliver it to the classroom by packaging them. So if it's, we don't typically see that served on a healthy choice bar, since it does need to be away from meal service times.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. Okay, at this point, this is the last question we have. If my plan is to serve in the classroom and not offer versus serve, do I need to apply for a waiver? Who would like to take that one? Do we not have an answer for them? Is this something that we might need to go to regional office for?
No, this is Heather. I think what we would need is a little bit more clarification from the person asking the question. But in general, if you want to serve in the classroom, currently to our current knowledge, that is allowable. And depending on how you want to do it, would depend which waivers you might consider in terms of meal service times, non-congregate feeding, those considerations. The offer versus serve waiver that is currently available is specific to high school students, because typically in standard meal operations, high school students must be served using offer versus serve. And so the waiver that came out from USDA waives that requirement. So high school students could be provided in full portions to meet the meal pattern a pre-plated meal. And so that's where the offer versus serve waiver comes in. I don't know if I answered this person's question. Definitely reach out to our office if you have a specific case scenario that you would like to walk through, and we can help you with that.
And
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Colleen, can I just interject too? This is TJ. I just want to be really, really clear, and I know that Heather covered this in the waiver explanation, but keep in mind that age grade groups and meal patterns still matter. So that needs to be taken into account. If this school, if the classrooms are age grade group specific, you need to be prepared to serve meals that meet each one of those age grade groups.
That's a great addition. Thank you for providing that. Okay, next question. Does water need to be available during summer food when meals are served, grab and go curbside? So either Marianne or Dominique, you want to take that one?
Hi, this is Dominique. Can you hear me?
Yes, and a little, make sure you're close to your phone there.
Okay, is this better?
That sounds much better, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. Does water need to be available during summer food when meals are served, grab and go curbside? The answer, when you are providing summer meals, the sites must be located in an area where water is available. However, due to the COVID pandemic, that assuring that the water, that if there is available water, that it's safe for consumption, and it is not a requirement to provide it for the grab and go curbside, especially during this COVID pandemic when access to safe drinking water is not available for all students. They would not go to a drinking fountain or have a drinking water cooler at the site because it would go against safety guidelines. So the answer is no.
Okay, very good, Dominique. Thank you for that. Okay, so at this point, well, just one sec. We've got one more question. Our district is purchasing a heat sealing machine with CARES Act money. Do we need to complete a capital expenditure request if that money will not be a line item in our child nutrition budget?
Colleen,
Linda, would you like?
Yeah, I
Sure.
can take that one. If it's not paid with child nutrition funds, you don't have to put in a capital equipment expenditure request. But if it's going to show up in Child Nutrition Fund 290, you have to have a capital expenditure request entered.
Perfect. Thank you, Linda. Next question. Can students eat outside as weather allows to encourage social distancing? Again, I think this goes back to each school district has their own plan, and sounds wonderful to be able to eat outside. I don't know if anyone else on the team has any additional input.
No, it's a really good question, but that is something that many schools do even pre-COVID, offering a patio setting or something like that. So certainly that would be one way. Just make sure that it's identified in your plan so that we know, how are you capturing those students? How is their meal service being accounted for claiming, et cetera.
Very good. Thank you, TJ. Okay, so just waiting here a few minutes. I'm going to toss out to the team if there's anything they can think of that they would like to add. And if not, it looks like we have gone through all the questions. So team, anything else?
This is Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Sorry, since I am having such technical difficulties, I was able to go back to that fresh fruit and vegetable question. And I do think maybe they're asking that, I'm just giving the example of the healthy choice bars being discouraged, that perhaps delivering in bulk to the classroom is their question, rather if they're asking if they should individually wrap those items. And I would say, please contact your health department and work with them. If with those particular types of questions, it does become safety issues for each district to make their own decisions on. So I just wanted to encourage that. And just to give an update with fresh fruit and vegetable, at this time, we are still waiting for funding from USDA. And we will, as soon as that is made available to us, we will reach out to districts to let them know about awards. But please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen, for adding that. Okay, state agency team, anything else that you can think of that you would like to add at this time? Well, it looks like we have gone through all the questions. Again, we would like to thank everyone for their hard work. Certainly, we understand the challenges that are going on. So again, as a reminder, we will not have a webinar next week. We will the week after that on the 23rd. But please feel free to send in any questions or give us a call before that time if something comes up. So with that said, this webinar is now complete and it will be up on YouTube in a day or two. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.